The exploration ship Aurora's Promise floated above a quiet moon. Its hull shone like a small star against a soft gray world below. The crew had trained for months. They had maps, checklists, and careful plans. Still, when the hatch opened and the first steps touched that silver ground, the moment felt new and bright like the first morning after a long night. Aaron stood in the airlock and checked his tools again. He liked order. He liked to be sure. He ran a finger along the smooth edge of a scanner, then glanced at the small repair kit on his belt. He breathed slow and calm. The readouts were all green. He could hear his own breath in his helmet, a steady rhythm that kept him centered. Mira stood beside him. She was the pilot for this outing, light on her feet, careful with her hands. Her eyes were clear and curious. She was the kind of person who noticed small things other people missed. On the flight down, she had pointed out a thin ring of light at the edge of the moon's horizon. "It looks like a smile," she had said in a soft voice. Aaron had not answered right away. He had been working through a sequence of landing checks, but he remembered that comment now as he watched her look out over the gray plain. Mira had a way of finding gentle brightness in quiet places. "Team ready," said the commander through the suit speakers. "Confirm. Sound check." "Aaron ready," said Aaron. "Mira ready," said Mira, and she added, "It is beautiful here." She kept her voice low. It felt right to speak softly on this silent world. They stepped out onto the silver dust. It was fine and smooth under their boots. It held the shape of every step like soft powder. A line of small hills lay in the distance, round and even. Pale light from two small suns made everything glow. There was no wind. There was no sound. Only the soft buzz of the suit systems and the gentle tap of their steps on the ground. Aaron lifted his scanner and swept it across the plain. The numbers came in. Mineral content was high. The soil held traces of ice deep below. The light had a calm blue tone. He marked a few points on his map. Everything matched the satellite sweep from orbit, but seeing it here felt different. It felt more real. Mira walked a few steps ahead. She moved with careful grace. Every footfall was slow and sure. She looked at a small ring of stones and then at a flat area where the dust was a shade darker. "Maybe water once stood here," she said. "Maybe a thin pond in ancient time." "Readings suggest that," Aaron said. "Good eye." She smiled under the helmet. He could not see the smile, but he heard it in her tone. Aaron found that he liked the sound of her smile. They set up small beacons in a neat triangle. They placed a sensor mast in the center. Mira read numbers aloud while Aaron logged them. The day felt like a well-made plan unfolding step by step. It soothed him to work like this. It also felt warm to work beside Mira. They did not need many words. She understood pauses. He understood small nods. They shared quiet, and it did not feel empty. "Let us walk to that ridge," Mira said after the setup was complete. "From there we can see the valley beyond." "Approved," Aaron said. "Stay within beacon range." They moved toward the ridge. The slope rose in a gentle arc. Aaron adjusted reports as they went. Mira pointed out faint lines in the dust like old wave marks. The two suns climbed in the sky and the blue light grew brighter. The ship was a clean shape on the plain behind them, small but steady. Every few minutes Aaron checked their bearings and suit levels. Every time the numbers were fine. Everything was calm. At the top of the ridge, the land opened into a broad valley with flat shelves and soft folds. In the center stood a low dome of rock smooth as glass. A thin shine lay on its surface. It looked like a single note held in stone. Mira stood still and took it in. "I wish I could feel the wind," she said. "Even a little breeze." Aaron looked at the dome. "No wind here," he said. "But there is light. And there is time," she nodded. "Light and time," she said. "That is enough." They started down toward the dome. The slope was gentle. The dust rose in tiny clouds around their boots and then fell again, slow and soft, like feathers in water. As they reached the base of the dome, Aaron held out a hand. "Careful," he said. "Surface looks slick." Mira tested it with one boot and found her balance. "It is smooth," she said, "but it holds if I step flat." She began to circle the dome, touching it with her glove. "It feels cool," she said. "Like morning stone." Aaron took a sample from the edge where dust met the glassy surface. The scanner hummed. The readings were strange but gentle. The dome was a mix of crystal and bound minerals, fused by long ages of light. No hazard, no sharp edges. It was simply a patient thing shaped by time. It was then that Aaron noticed the small alert on Mira's suit band. It was a tiny icon on his shared display. He felt a small shift in his chest. He looked at Mira. She was stepping around the dome, light and sure. Nothing seemed wrong. "Mira," he said in a calm voice, "and please pause." She stopped at once and turned toward him. "Yes." "Your neck ring shows a minor latch warning," Aaron said. "It may be a sensor flicker. Please hold your position." "I will check your suit." She did not move. "I feel fine," she said, still calm. "But please check." Aaron walked to her side with measured steps. He kept his breathing even. He did not want to alarm her. He did not want to rush. He focused on the small task. He looked down at the collar ring of her helmet. One latch had not seated all the way. The ring was still closed and the seal read steady, but the latch indicator was not fully green. "It is a partial seat on latch 3, he said in a low tone. "Seal is good. We will fix the latch now." Mira stayed steady. "Tell me what to do," she said. "You are doing it," Aaron said. "Stay still. I will press and turn." He took a small tool from his kit. It was a simple lever meant for this type of job. He set it against the latch and pressed. The latch slid into place with a soft click. The indicator on his display turned green. He checked the ring again, moving his hand slowly around the circle to feel every notch. "It was firm and even, all green," he said. "Thank you for holding position." "Thank you for seeing it," Mira said. Her voice held quiet trust. "Good eyes." Aaron looked at her visor. He saw his own small reflection there, a tiny shape against the blue. "We watch each other," he said. "That is the rule." "It is also kind," she said. They stood like that for a breath, and the moment felt gentle and bright. No alarms, no rush, just two people doing careful work and caring for each other in a calm, steady way. Aaron felt a soft warmth he could not label. It was not part of his training. It was not on any checklist. It felt like finding a small light inside a quiet room. They finished the survey around the dome. Mira found a small channel that seemed to glow faintly under the surface like a thread of ice. Aaron recorded coordinates. The day moved on and the light shifted to a clearer white. Still no wind. The land sat patient and restful. On the way back to the ridge, they walked side by side. They spoke about small things. Mira said she missed the sound of rain on metal roofs. Aaron said he liked the smell of hot tea at dawn. They laughed softly at how simple those memories were compared to the large sky above them. Simple things, they agreed, held strong power when far from home. At the ridge, they rested for a short time. Aaron checked suit levels. Mira sipped a measured drink from her tube. They looked over the valley one more time. The dome shone like a smooth pearl. The tiny channel of light under its skin seemed to pulse in a slow, steady rhythm, as if the land had a calm heartbeat. "I think this place wants to be known," Mira said. Aaron nodded. "Then we will learn its shape," he said. "One step at a time." They walked down the far side of the ridge toward the ship. The beacons flashed soft lights to guide them in a straight line. The ship grew larger. It looked like a sheltering hand on the plain. As they came close, the commander's voice returned in their helmets. "Good work," the commander said. "Telemetry is clean. Your path was steady. Return for debrief." "On our way," Aaron said. "On our way," Mira said. They reached the airlock. The door opened with a soft hiss. They stepped inside. The light shifted from blue to warm white. The inner door closed. The chamber pressurized with a gentle hum. Aaron watched the gauges and felt a quiet sense of care for every small piece of the ship. It had carried them far, and it gave them a safe room now. The helmets came off. The air tasted like metal and lemon. Mira shook out her hair and let out a gentle breath. Aaron placed his helmet on the rack and checked the latch on her collar once more, this time with no suit between his hand and the ring. He pressed each notch and felt every click. All was secure. "Thank you, Aaron," Mira said. "You are careful in a way that feels safe." He looked down a little shy and then up again. "Thank you," he said. "You see details I might pass by? The pond line, the glow under the dome." "We make a good pair," she said. Aaron did not answer for a second. The word pair made his chest feel warm. He told himself it was a simple word for two people working together. Still, it settled in his mind like a soft light. They moved to the small table in the ready room. They set their notes side by side. They matched times and points. The story of the day became tidy lines and neat marks. Mira drew a little curve to show the ridge. Aaron added numbers at equal spaces to show their steps. It looked clean. It felt honest. The commander joined them. Good survey, the commander said, looking at the map. I like your pace. I like your care. Thank you, Aaron said. May we return to the dome tomorrow? Mira asked. To study the glow under the surface. Yes, the commander said. We will plan a safe path and bring a light probe. Good suggestion, Mira smiled. Thank you. After the debrief, Aaron walked down the quiet corridor. He felt different in a way he could not name. He paused at the small window that looked out over the silver plain. The two suns were lower now. The light had turned soft and gold. The ridge made a long arc like a gentle wave. The ship's shadow stretched across the dust like a careful line drawn by a sure hand. Mira stopped next to him at the window. For a while they stood without words. It was not empty silence. It was full. It held the day between them. I was not afraid, Mira said at last, still looking out. When you said please pause, I felt calm. I knew you would see what to do. I saw a latch, Aaron said. You held still. We both did our part. She turned and looked at him. I also saw a person who cares, she said. Thank you for that, Aaron met her eyes. We care for each other, he said, and we care for the mission. Both can be true. Both can be true, she repeated, like a good line from a favorite book. The ship lights dimmed a little for evening cycle. The window took on a soft glow. Mira raised a hand and traced a small arc on the glass, following the line of the ridge outside. Tomorrow, she said, we will follow the glow under the dome. We will learn its quiet song. Tomorrow, Aaron said. The word felt like a promise, gentle and kind. They walked to the galley. They poured hot tea. The steam rose in thin lines. The smell was simple and bright. They sat at the small table with their cups. They did not say much. They did not need to. The quiet of the moon seemed to have followed them inside, but here it was warm. Aaron lifted his cup and looked at Mira over the rim. He thought of the small latch and the small click. He thought of how easy it is to miss a tiny light and how good it feels when someone else sees it too. He thought of rules that keep people safe and of care that keeps hearts steady. Both can be true, he told himself again. Mira set down her cup and smiled. Today was a good first day, she said. Yes, Aaron said. A very good first day. Later, when Aaron lay in his small bunk, he did not sleep right away. He watched the soft light on the ceiling. He listened to the gentle hum of the ship. He felt the calm of a task done well and the warm rise of something new. He did not give that new thing a name. He did not rush it. He let it sit like a small star seen from far away, steady and kind. On the silent moon below, the dome held its soft glow under the surface. The ridge kept its clean curve. The dust kept each footprint as if holding a memory. And in the ship above, two people rested with the same quiet hope, ready to meet the next day with careful steps, open eyes, and simple courage. Morning on the moon was gentle and silver. The twin suns climbed slowly over the horizon, spreading soft light across the quiet land. The ship Aurora's Promise rested in the valley like a bright pearl, its shadow long and calm. Inside, Aaron woke early as always. He liked the still hour before the day began. It was the time when the ship hummed softly, and he could hear his own thoughts without rush or noise. He sat at the small table in the ready room, sipping warm tea from a silver cup. The taste was faint and simple, but it reminded him of home. He looked at the mission board on the wall. Today's plan was marked in green: Survey Dome Alpha, Internal Light Source Analysis. Aaron checked his tools again, then glanced at the empty seat beside him. Mira would be awake soon. She always arrived with a quiet smile and soft hair slightly out of place from sleep. He found himself waiting for that small moment, though he never said it aloud. A few minutes later, the door slid open. Mira stepped in, holding her datapad. Her face lit up when she saw him. "You are early again," she said gently. "I like to check the tools twice," Aaron replied. "It keeps things steady." "It also keeps you busy," she teased. Aaron smiled a little, not used to teasing but not minding it either. "The readings from yesterday are strange," Mira continued, sitting across from him. "The dome's glow is steady, but it pulses every few hours. Like a heartbeat." Aaron looked thoughtful. "Then we find what makes it breathe," he said. She nodded. "Let's see what secrets this world is keeping." Outside, the surface gleamed with morning light. The two explorers walked across the plain toward the ridge. Their shadows stretched long behind them, moving together like a pair of quiet travelers. Aaron carried the main sensor pack and Mira carried the small probe, a round silver device that could hover above the ground and map the terrain below. They reached the dome after an hour of slow climbing. It stood as still and smooth as before, the light under its skin faint but alive. Mira placed her hand on the surface. "It feels warmer today," she said softly. Aaron scanned the surface. The readings show an increase in energy flow beneath. "It could be reacting to sunlight. Or to us," Mira said, half joking. Aaron looked at her. "Do you believe that?" She shrugged, smiling. "Maybe this planet is listening. Everything alive listens in its own way." Aaron nodded. He liked that thought, though he could not explain why. They set up equipment around the dome. Aaron placed the energy sensors in a triangle pattern, just as they had practiced. Mira activated the hovering probe and it rose into the thin air, humming softly. Its light beam scanned the surface, projecting faint shapes on her screen. For hours they worked quietly, sharing readings and small smiles. The air around them seemed to hum in gentle rhythm with their steps. Then, as the suns reached their highest point, the probe beeped softly. "It found something," Mira said. She looked at the display. A thin hollow space lay beneath the dome, small but clear. "It is like a pocket under the crystal," she said. Aaron leaned closer. "Depth 2 meters. Shape smooth. Possible entry." He crouched and touched the dome again. "There is a weak point here," he said. "If we apply a low-frequency pulse, it might open a path." "Approved," Mira said. "But slow and gentle." Aaron smiled faintly. "Always gentle." He set the emitter on the surface and adjusted the settings. A soft tone filled the air, low and even. The dome shimmered. The light beneath it began to move, forming small ripples. Then, with a faint sigh, a round section of the crystal slid aside like a door melting into mist. They both stepped back, silent in awe. A narrow opening revealed a soft blue glow inside. The light was calm, not harsh, as if it invited them in. "Permission to enter?" Mira asked through the suit channel. Aaron paused. "I will go first," he said. Mira shook her head. "We go together." He met her eyes. For a moment, neither spoke. Then he nodded. "Together." Inside the dome, the light grew brighter but still gentle. The walls were smooth and curved like the inside of a giant pearl. Small shapes floated in the air, tiny crystals that moved slowly, glowing like fireflies. Each time Mira stepped forward, they drifted aside, clearing a path. "It is beautiful," she whispered. Her voice echoed softly. Aaron recorded data, his scanner blinking green. "No danger signs. The air pressure is stable. Composition similar to ours." "Then maybe it wants us here," Mira said with wonder. They moved deeper, and at the center they found a single object standing on a smooth platform, a small crystal sphere about the size of a heart. It pulsed with blue and gold light, each beat steady and calm. The air around it felt alive like a soft breath. Aaron approached carefully. "Energy core," he said. "But no heat, no radiation, it seems." "Gentle." Mira stepped beside him. "Maybe it is not a machine," she said. "Maybe it is a seed." Aaron looked at her, curious. "A seed?" "Yes," she said. "Something waiting for care, not control. Waiting for a touch, not a command." He thought about that for a long second. Mira had a way of seeing with her heart first and her tool second. But she was rarely wrong. He reached out a gloved hand toward the crystal. The moment his fingers came close, the sphere pulsed once, brighter than before, and a faint hum filled the dome. Lines of light spread along the walls like flowing rivers. Mira gasped softly. "It's waking." Aaron withdrew his hand quickly. The light slowed, then steadied again as if to say, "I see you." They stood in silence. The glow reflected in Mira's eyes. Aaron felt something stir in his chest, not fear, not worry, but wonder mixed with warmth. "It responds to presence," he said. Mira nodded. "Then we must treat it with care." They gathered readings for hours. The dome seemed alive in a peaceful way. The light never harmed, only shimmered like soft music in color. They discovered that every time Mira spoke near the crystal, the glow shifted toward gold, while when Aaron spoke, it deepened to blue. The dome seemed to listen to both and blend the colors where their voices met. At last, the suns began to dip. They decided to leave and return the next day for a full study. As they stepped back through the opening, Mira turned for one last look. "It feels like it knows us now," she said softly. Aaron looked too. The crystal pulsed once, faint and slow like a farewell. The walk back to the ship was long and quiet. The world around them glowed in evening silver. Aaron carried the data pack close to his chest. The readings were unlike anything he had seen before. But even with all the data, what filled his thoughts most was the sound of Mira's voice inside the dome, the way the light had changed with her tone. When they reached the ship, the commander greeted them. "You stayed longer than planned," she said. Aaron bowed his head slightly. "We found a chamber beneath the dome," he said. "We collected full readings." The commander looked surprised. "Was it safe?" "Yes," Mira said. "Peaceful, even." It felt alive in a kind way. The commander studied their faces, then smiled. "Good work, both of you. We'll review the data after rest." Mira and Aaron cleaned their suits and sat together in the mess room. She poured them both warm tea. "Do you think it really is a seed?" she asked. "I don't know," Aaron said. "But I want to learn what it grows into." Mira smiled. "You sound like a dreamer now." "Maybe I'm learning from you," he said quietly. She looked at him for a moment. The light from the small lamp reflected softly on his face. "You are different from others, Aaron. You listen before you act. You see without rushing." Aaron met her gaze. "And you remind me that not all rules are written in books," he said. There was a stillness then, comfortable and deep. The kind that felt like two hearts finding the same rhythm without trying. After a while, Mira stood. "Tomorrow we'll go back. Maybe the dome will show us more." "Yes," Aaron said. "Tomorrow." That night, Aaron couldn't sleep right away. He sat by the small window again. Outside, the Silver Valley shone under twin moons. He thought of the light under the dome and of Mira's calm face beside it. He had always believed that following rules was the way to stay safe, the way to honor the mission. But today he learned something new. Sometimes, trust and care could guide a person better than any rule. He whispered quietly to himself, "Both can be true." In the sleeping quarters below, Mira dreamed of the dome's soft light. She dreamed of water flowing under clear glass, of voices turning into color, and in the valley deep beneath the surface, the crystal sphere pulsed again, slow and bright, as if answering the thought of two small humans who had treated it with kindness. The next morning began with soft light pouring through the ship's small window. The two suns rose slowly, coloring the sky in shades of white and pale blue. Inside Aurora's promise, everything hummed gently. The sound of working engines, the soft clicks of computers, the calm rhythm of life in space. Aaron was already awake, standing near the equipment shelf. He checked every scanner and latch twice. His movements were quiet, careful, and exact. Across the room, Mira walked in, holding her datapad close to her chest. Her hair was slightly loose and her eyes were bright, still carrying the peaceful glow from the previous day. "Good morning, Aaron," she said softly. "Good morning, Mira," he replied, glancing at her with a small smile. She placed the datapad on the table and looked at the mission chart. "Today, the commander approved another trip to the dome. We will take the light probe deeper into the chamber." Aaron nodded. The readings from yesterday were strange but safe. "We can continue the study." Mira tilted her head. "You say strange, but I say wonderful," she said with a grin. Aaron's lips curved slightly. "Both can be true," he said. An hour later, they stood again on the moon's surface. The dust glimmered under the sun, soft like powdered glass. Their suits gleamed faintly, silver against silver. The air was silent as always, no wind, no sound, only the calm hum of their steps. The dome was waiting. Its surface glowed faintly, a gentle shimmer like morning dew. Mira touched it with one gloved hand. "It feels alive again," she said. Aaron placed the scanner near her. "The energy flow is stronger today. The light pattern has changed since yesterday." "Maybe it's because we came back," she said, half to herself. They opened the same passage as before. The crystal door melted quietly, revealing the glowing chamber beneath. The floating crystals shimmered as they entered, drifting aside as if welcoming them home. The blue and gold light played along the curved walls, peaceful and slow. Inside, the central sphere pulsed brighter this time. Its light beat like a slow heart. Aaron set down his tools carefully. "It seems to recognize us," he said. Mira stepped closer. "Or maybe it remembers kindness," she whispered. They began their study. Mira used the probe to scan the walls while Aaron took notes. The readings showed gentle waves of energy moving through the crystal surface. Nothing harmful, nothing wild. Just patient light, like an ancient rhythm repeating through time. After a while, Mira sat on a low rock and watched the glowing patterns. "Aaron," she said softly, "do you ever wonder why humans travel so far into the stars?" Aaron looked at her. "To learn," he said. "To understand." She shook her head gently. "Maybe also to feel less alone. Every world we visit, every light we find, it reminds us that we are still searching for something more than answers." Aaron paused. He had never thought about it that way. For him, space had always been numbers, structure, and order, but Mira's words touched something deep inside him. He realized that she looked at the universe not just with her eyes, but with her heart. He sat beside her. "When I was young," he said quietly, "I used to watch the night sky from my home city. I would mark the stars I could name. I thought if I memorized enough of them, I would never feel lost." Mira turned toward him. "And did it work?" Aaron smiled faintly. "No, I still got lost sometimes, but maybe getting lost is part of learning." "Then we are learning well," she said with a small laugh. Hours passed in gentle work. They recorded, mapped, and measured, but as the suns began to lower, Aaron noticed something strange on his wrist display. "Mira," he said, "I'm reading a magnetic rise from the horizon." She looked up. "Another storm?" He checked again. "Yes, the solar wind is strong today. The ship's sensors might lose contact soon." Mira's face grew thoughtful. "Should we go back now?" Aaron looked toward the dome's exit. "Yes. If the storm grows, communication could break." They packed their tools quickly but carefully. As they stepped out of the chamber, the light behind them pulsed one last time. Soft, warm, almost like a farewell. They began their walk back to the ship. The silver dust shimmered as usual, but now the air above it flickered faintly. Thin lines of static light danced near the horizon. Aaron knew what it meant. The storm was rising faster than expected. "Mira," he said calmly, "stay close. Keep the compass fixed on the beacon light." She nodded, her voice steady. "Copy that." For a few minutes they walked in silence. The light grew sharper, flashing white and blue across the sky. Small particles lifted from the ground, pulled upward by the charged air. The sensors on their suits began to beep faintly. A warning tone, not danger yet, but close. Aaron stopped to check Mira's suit connections. "Oxygen steady?" "Steady," she said, "but I can feel the static through the gloves." "It will pass," he said, though he wasn't sure how long it would last. Then, without warning, the ground vibrated softly under their boots. The air shimmered with a metallic glow. The storm had reached them. Their suit shields flickered, small arcs of light crossing the visors. "Mira, we need to move faster," Aaron said firmly. "The storm may block visibility soon." "I can still see the beacon," she said, pointing to the faint green light ahead. They moved as one, slow but steady. The air was filled with thin streams of silver lightning, harmless but dazzling. The scene looked like they were walking through a living painting, light bending around them in soft waves. Then, Mira stumbled slightly as the ground shifted beneath her. A small ridge of dust gave way. She steadied herself, but the motion loosened the latch of her helmet again, just slightly. Aaron saw the alert flash on his display. "Mira, stop," he said quickly. She froze at once. "What's wrong?" "Your neck latch again. It's showing a warning." Mira tried to look down, but Aaron was already moving toward her. He held her shoulders gently. "Stay still," he said in a calm voice. "Don't touch anything." She nodded. The wind of static light played around them, glowing in soft circles. Aaron worked with slow care, tightening the latch, pressing the seal until the green light returned. He double-checked every connection, even though the readings were already safe. When it was done, Mira let out a small breath. "I don't know why this keeps happening," she said. "Maybe the dust particles are affecting the sensors," Aaron replied. "We will replace the latch when we return." She smiled faintly. "You always have a reason." "It helps me stay calm," he said. "It helps me too," she whispered. They began walking again side by side. The storm thickened for a moment, turning the world white. Then slowly it began to fade. The sky cleared into soft blue. The beacon light ahead grew stronger. They reached the ship just as the last spark of static faded into the air. Inside the airlock, the hiss of pressurization sounded like relief. Aaron removed his helmet and checked Mira's first, making sure the latch was perfect. She looked at him and smiled. "You saved me again," she said softly. Aaron shook his head. I just followed the rules of safety. No, she said gently. You followed your heart. He paused, unsure what to say. The words felt heavy and real. I care about the mission, he said quietly. And the people in it, she added, her eyes kind. That's what makes you human, Aaron. Later, when they sat in the control room reviewing data, the commander joined them. That storm came close, the commander said. You handled it well. Thanks to Aaron, Mira said. He always keeps us safe. Aaron looked away, a little embarrassed. Just doing my duty, he said. The commander smiled. Sometimes duty and care look the same, she said. They shared their findings about the dome. The commander listened carefully. A light that responds to human presence, she said, thoughtful. Maybe this world is not empty after all. After the meeting, Mira and Aaron walked to the observation deck. The stars shimmered beyond the glass. The moon's surface stretched below like a calm ocean of light. Mira leaned on the rail and looked out. When the storm started, I was not afraid, she said. I knew you would not leave me behind. Aaron turned to her slowly. There was never a question of that, he said. We came here together. She smiled, her eyes reflecting starlight. Then maybe the dome was right to trust us. Maybe we were right to trust it. For a long moment they stood without speaking. The quiet between them felt full of unspoken things. Respect, warmth, and something softer. Deeper, Aaron finally said. When the storm hit, all I could think about was getting you back safe. Mira looked at him, her voice low and steady, and all I could think was that you would find a way. You always do. The ship hummed gently around them. Outside, the stars watched in silence. Somewhere below, in the valley, the glowing dome pulsed once more, as if it too remembered the two small humans who had faced the storm together with care and courage. That night, Aaron wrote in his report, "The dome's light reacts to presence, so do we. Sometimes the greatest discovery is not out there. It's within." He closed the log, leaned back, and thought of Mira's smile through the glass. He did not know what tomorrow would bring, but he knew one thing clearly now. Rules could guide him, but it was the quiet strength of the heart that kept him human. And somewhere deep inside him, a promise began to form. A promise he did not yet speak, but one day he would. The next morning came with soft golden light touching the valley. The twin suns rose slowly, painting the silver ground in warm shades of white and blue. The storm had passed, leaving behind a quiet calm that felt new and clear. The air outside the ship shimmered gently, as if the planet itself had taken a deep breath of peace. Inside Aurora's promise, the crew gathered around the table for the morning briefing. The commander's calm voice filled the small room. Yesterday's data was remarkable, she said. The dome's light pattern has changed again. It now matches the rhythm of human speech. Mira looked at Aaron. It listens, she whispered softly. Aaron nodded. It responds to tone, not just sound. The readings prove it. The commander looked at both of them. That is exactly why Command has sent new instructions, she said, handing them a message pad. They want the dome sealed. No more direct contact. Until we understand its nature, it is to remain untouched. The room went still. Mira lowered her eyes. Sealed? She said quietly. Yes, the commander said. We have our orders. We will mark it as an observation site only. Aaron said nothing. He felt a small pull inside him, a quiet disagreement he could not show. Rules were rules, but the dome was not a danger. It had shown light, warmth, and calm. He could not understand why Command would fear it. After the meeting, he walked out to the small observation window. The valley stretched before him, calm and endless. He could see the faint glow of the dome in the distance, shining gently under the twin suns. It did not look like a threat. It looked like a living heart. Mira came to stand beside him. For a while they both watched in silence. Then she said, It does not want to harm anyone. You saw it. You felt it. Aaron nodded slowly. I know, but Command says to stay away. She looked at him, her eyes quiet but firm. And what do you say? He hesitated. His hands tightened slightly at his sides. I say that the dome trusts us. We should not turn our backs on it. Mira smiled softly. Then maybe some rules need to bend. That evening, when the ship's lights dimmed and most of the crew rested, Aaron sat alone in the control room. The stars filled the wide window in front of him. His hands rested on the edge of the console, but his thoughts were far away, out in the valley. under the quiet dome of glass and light. He remembered the way the crystal sphere had pulsed when they first touched it. He remembered Mira's gentle voice and how the colors had changed with her tone. The memory felt alive, like a heartbeat echoing across time. He opened the mission log to record his thoughts, but he did not write data or numbers. He wrote a single line instead. Sometimes discovery asks for faith, not permission. He looked at the words for a long time. Then he closed the screen and stood. His heart had already decided what his mind was still trying to justify. Mira was waiting for him in the airlock. She had her helmet under her arm and her suit half sealed. When she saw him, she smiled softly as if she already knew. "I thought you might come," she said. "You knew?" Aaron asked. "I know you," she said gently. "You can follow rules, but not at the cost of truth." They sealed their helmets and stepped out together into the quiet night. The ground glittered faintly under the soft twin moons. Their footprints left a long silver trail behind them as they walked toward the dome. The air was calm, the sky wide, and their steps in perfect rhythm. When they reached the ridge, the dome shimmered below like a sleeping pearl. The light beneath it glowed faintly, as if aware of their arrival. Mira smiled. "It was waiting," she whispered. "Then let's listen to it again," Aaron said softly. The entry opened for them just as before. The air inside was cool and gentle. The small crystals floated slowly, glowing in soft blue and gold light. The sphere at the center pulsed with a calm rhythm, steady and alive. Mira walked closer and placed her gloved hand near it. The sphere brightened, glowing in gold. Aaron stepped beside her. "It remembers," he said. She nodded. Maybe it was lonely. They stood there quietly, the soft light bathing their suits in color. Mira began to hum, a low and tender sound that filled the chamber. The crystal lights began to move, turning slowly, spinning around them like glowing petals. Aaron watched, speechless. The air shimmered with gentle light. The dome responded to her music as if it was singing back. The glow became warm and golden, wrapping around them both in soft waves. Then Aaron spoke quietly. "Mira, look." The walls of the dome began to show faint images, shapes of distant worlds. Skies filled with stars and oceans reflecting moons. It was as if the dome was showing them its memories or maybe the dreams of something that once lived here. Mira reached out a hand. "It's beautiful," she said softly. "This is its story." Aaron nodded, unable to look away. "And we are the first to see it." The images shifted again, and for a brief moment the walls showed two human shapes standing side by side, small glowing figures holding hands under a bright light. Aaron's breath caught in his throat. Mira's voice trembled slightly. "Aaron, it's us." The figures faded and the chamber returned to soft blue light. For a long moment there was silence. Then Aaron said quietly, "It showed us what we are becoming." Mira looked at him. "Together," she said simply. They stood there, two small humans in a world far from home, surrounded by light that seemed to understand them. The next morning, the commander called them to the control deck. Her tone was calm, but her eyes were sharp. "Aaron, Mira, did you go out last night?" she asked. Neither spoke for a moment. Then Aaron said quietly, "Yes, Commander." "We did," the commander sighed. "You disobeyed a direct order." "We found something important," Mira said softly. "The dome is not a threat. It communicates through light and emotion." The commander looked at them for a long time. "You both risk the mission's trust," she said. "Command will ask for a full report." Aaron stood straight. "Then let them. I take full responsibility." "It was my choice," Mira stepped forward. "No, it was ours." The commander's expression softened slightly. She looked at both of them, the quiet engineer and the bright pilot, and saw no guilt, only steady belief. "Sometimes," she said slowly, "a rule must bend to let truth stand." She turned to the window, looking out at the glowing valley. "I will send the report," she said at last, "but I will also send your findings." "The dome's story deserves to be heard." Mira's eyes filled with quiet gratitude. Aaron bowed his head slightly. "Thank you," he said. Later that day they returned to their small cabin to rest. The tension of the morning slowly faded. Mira sat by the small window watching the sky outside. Aaron poured 2 cups of warm tea and handed one to her. "Do you think Command will forgive us?" she asked softly. Aaron thought for a moment. "Maybe not right away, but one day they will understand why we did it." She smiled. You always find hope in hard places. And you always remind me why it matters, he said gently. For a while, they drank their tea in silence. The room was filled with the soft hum of the ship and the quiet sound of their breathing. Mira looked out again. When I saw those images on the wall, I felt like the dome was showing us more than just light. It was showing us what it means to care. Aaron nodded. It showed us that connection is strength, not weakness. She turned to him. And you risked your duty for that truth. He looked into her eyes. I would do it again. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Even if it means breaking every rule? He smiled softly. Some rules keep us safe, but some keep us small. I will never break a rule to harm, but I will bend any rule to protect what feels right. For a long moment, neither spoke. The silence was deep and peaceful. Outside, the suns were setting, painting the silver land with golden lines. The dome in the valley glowed softly, as if blessing their choice. Mira rested her head lightly against the window. Aaron, she said quietly, when we go home, I don't think I will ever see the stars the same way again. Neither will I, he said. Because now I know they're not just lights. They're promises. She turned to him. Promises? He nodded. Every star is a promise that light can travel across any darkness. Just like people can find each other, no matter how far apart they are. Mira smiled. Then maybe we are both stars finding our way across the same sky. Aaron looked at her for a long moment. The words he wanted to say stayed quiet, but his heart spoke them clearly. He knew without question that the dome was not the only thing that had awakened on this planet. Something had awakened inside him too, something calm, brave, and full of light. That night, as the ship drifted in silent orbit above the moon, Aaron wrote his final report for the day. He wrote, "The dome's light speaks in colors, not words. It listens, learns, and mirrors emotion. Today, it reflected peace. Maybe it has seen love before. Maybe it saw it again in us." He closed the log and looked out at the stars. Below, the dome glowed softly, steady and kind. And in that quiet silver world, two explorers rested side by side, not as strangers of space, but as two hearts learning what it meant to be truly human. The twin suns rose slowly over the silver valley, bathing the land in soft golden light. The dome in the center shimmered quietly, its glow calm and welcoming. The storm had passed, the air was still, and the world looked new again. Inside the ship Aurora's Promise, the crew prepared for departure. Their mission was complete, their data full, and command had given the order to return home. But for Aaron and Mira, the day carried a different weight. This was not just another mission ending. This world had become more than a discovery. It had become part of their hearts. Aaron stood by the large observation window, looking out at the dome one last time. The gentle light reflected in his eyes. He remembered the first day they stepped onto this moon, how he had been so careful, so focused on rules and reports, and now here he was, breaking those same rules because something inside him told him that life was not only about following directions, it was about understanding what truly matters. Mira joined him quietly. She stood beside him, her reflection merging with his in the glass. "It looks peaceful today," she said. "It does," Aaron replied softly. "It feels like it's saying goodbye. Or maybe it's saying thank you," she said with a faint smile. They stood side by side in silence, their hearts calm. The dome's light pulsed slowly in the distance like the steady rhythm of a heart that would never stop beating. Later, the commander gathered everyone in the control room. The crew sat around the central screen as the final transmission from command came through. "Mission Aurora is complete," said the voice from Earth. "Your discovery will change how we see the universe. Prepare for the return journey. The site will remain protected. No extraction, no interference." The message ended with a static hum. The commander looked around at her team. "You heard it," she said. "We leave at dawn. The dome will remain as it is, untouched. Maybe one day others will return to learn from it." Everyone nodded, but Mira and Aaron exchanged a quiet glance. They both knew that leaving would not be easy. That evening, as the others rested, Mira and Aaron walked once more to the airlock. The twin moons were rising, painting the valley in silver light. The stars beyond looked close enough to touch. "Are you sure we should go one last time?" Mira asked softly. Aaron nodded. "Yes, we should say goodbye properly. The dome deserves that." She smiled. "Then let's go." They stepped out onto the silver dust, their boots making soft marks in the quiet ground. The valley was still, the air calm. As they reached the ridge, Mira stopped and looked back at the ship. Its lights were small but warm, glowing against the soft horizon. "Do you ever wonder what we'll tell them back home?" she asked. Aaron thought for a moment. "I'll tell them we found light that listens, and that it taught us to listen too." Mira nodded slowly. "That's a good story." When they reached the dome, it opened as gently as always. The soft blue and gold light filled the chamber, wrapping around them like calm water. The floating crystals drifted closer as if greeting old friends. The central sphere pulsed softly. Its rhythm matched the beat of a human heart, steady, warm, alive. Mira placed her hand near it.
"Hello again,"
she whispered. "We came to thank you." Aaron stood beside her. "We are leaving soon," he said, "but we will remember." The dome responded with a slow wave of golden light that spread across the walls, filling the entire chamber with soft warmth. The air shimmered. For a moment, both of them felt something inside their suits, something gentle, almost like the touch of sunlight on skin. Mira closed her eyes. "It feels like home," she said. Aaron nodded. "Maybe it is home for someone once, and now in a way, for us." They stood there for a long while, just breathing, letting the quiet light flow around them. It felt as if the dome was speaking without words, telling them stories in color and rhythm. As they turned to leave, Mira stopped near the entrance. "Aaron," she said softly. "Yes," he replied. She looked at him through her visor. "Do you ever think about what happens after this? After we go home?" Aaron hesitated. "I think about it every day," he said honestly. "And what do you see?" He looked at her for a moment before speaking. "I see a small house on Earth, maybe near the hills. I see quiet mornings with tea and the sound of the wind. And I see you still talking about stars." Mira smiled, her eyes bright. "That sounds like a dream." He stepped a little closer. "Maybe some dreams are worth chasing." They stood there in the doorway of light, their reflections blending with the glow. For the first time, Aaron reached out his hand and gently touched hers. Through the gloves, it was just pressure and warmth, but it was enough. The light of the dome brightened for a moment, as if it approved. The next morning, the ship was ready for launch. The commander gave the final order. "All systems checked. Engines primed." We lift off in 30 minutes. Aaron and Mira sat at their stations. The cabin hummed softly. Through the front glass, the valley spread below, silver and calm. The dome glowed faintly in the distance, a single bright heart on a quiet world. Mira looked at it one last time. "Goodbye," she whispered. Aaron's hands rested on the controls. "We'll come back someday," he said. "Together?" she asked. "Together," he said firmly. The engines came alive with a deep hum. The ship lifted slowly from the ground, rising into the soft light of morning. The silver dust swirled below, then settled again as the Aurora's promise climbed higher. From orbit, the planet looked like a shining pearl floating in the darkness. The dome was a tiny sparkle on its surface, but both of them could still feel its quiet energy, like a heartbeat echoing through space. Days later, when they reached deep space, the crew relaxed. The journey home would take months, but there was peace in the air. They had done something no one else had done. They had found a living light and learned its song. Aaron spent most evenings by the window, watching the stars drift past. Mira often joined him, holding 2 cups of warm tea. They would sit together, silent or sharing small thoughts about home. One night, Mira said softly, "Do you think people will understand what we found?" Aaron thought about it. Maybe not right away, but someday they will. They'll understand that not all discoveries are meant to be used. Some are meant to be loved. Mira smiled. "You sound like the dome when you say that." He chuckled quietly. "Maybe it taught me more than I realized." She looked out at the stars. "When I first joined the mission, I wanted adventure. I wanted to see new worlds. But now I think the best part of this journey wasn't what we found. It was who I found it with." Aaron turned to her. The soft light from the stars touched her face. "Then maybe that was the real discovery," he said. When they finally reached Earth, the crew was greeted with celebration. Scientists, reporters, and students all wanted to hear their story. They asked about the dome, the light, and the strange energy that responded to human emotion. Aaron and Mira explained everything, the colors, the patterns, the harmony. But when someone asked, "What did the dome mean?" Aaron only smiled and said, "It means that the universe listens when we speak with kindness." His answer was simple, but it stayed with people for years to come. Months later, Aaron and Mira stood in a quiet field on Earth. It was spring. The air smelled of rain and grass. They were planting a small tree near a clear lake. It was part of a tradition. Each returning explorer planted a tree to mark their journey. As Mira placed the young sapling into the soil, Aaron looked up at the sky. The sun was bright, the same light that had touched the silver valley on that distant moon. He smiled softly. "This light feels the same," he said. Mira nodded. "Because we carried it back with us." They stood together side by side, watching the leaves move gently in the wind. Aaron reached for her hand and she took it without a word. The world around them was green and full of life, but somewhere beyond the sky on that faraway moon, the dome still glowed softly. In that moment, everything felt connected. The light of the suns, the calm of the dome, the tree growing from Earth's soil, and the quiet bond between two people who had learned that love, like light, travels far and never fades. Years later, explorers would return to that moon. They would find the dome still shining, steady and peaceful. On one of its walls, new lines of golden light had appeared, two small shapes standing together under a silver sky. No one could explain how they got there, but those who saw it always smiled and whispered, "It must be them." Aaron and Mira's story became legend among travelers. They proved that being human was not just about reaching stars. It was about feeling, caring, and daring to see beauty where others saw mystery. Their names were remembered not as rule breakers, but as hearts that listened to the universe. And somewhere in the quiet glow of the dome, the light still pulsed in rhythm with two distant hearts that once promised each other that no matter how far they went, they would always walk together under the same sky.